as they deal with these challenges on a daily basis. We hope and believe, as the Ad Hoc Committee coming for the second time, but it's not the second engagement with KZN. When we finalize our report, it's going to assist and improve our system in terms of the laws that we pass in assisting a situation like what we're going through now as a province and the country. And we are even generous when we go to these gatherings that we don't be too exclusive to say it's us as Ad Hoc Joint Committee. Even MPLs in the province, if they are here, they are also welcome. All of you, you are welcome, as I was trying to clarify some simple, straightforward issues so that all of us are reading from the same page. Honorable Frolic, co-chair, can you please come forward and do your part and also extend the invitation over and above to what will be the first presentation of today. Honorable Frolic.
No, thank you, Honorable Nyambi, and good morning to all the honorable members, the members of the Ad Hoc Committee from both houses who are here, also to the provincial government, the MECs who are currently present. We have received an indication from the Premier that she will join us later. That's why we've just tweaked the program a bit. And also then to the Executive Mayor of the eThekwini municipality. Thank you very much. Welcome, Councillor. And also thank you for adjusting your program so that we could move you up earlier into the program. My co-chairperson has spelled out the purpose of this visit. And the purpose of the visit is quite clear. It's direct. It's no longer a fact-finding commission in its initial stages. It's now coming to look at the interventions or lack of interventions that has been made. We encourage open and frank presentations and robust discussions whilst we respect one another in the different responsibilities that we have. We move from the premise that all of us have a common goal, and that is to address the difficult conditions under which some of our people still live in the aftermath of the flood disaster that has taken place. It is a responsibility of public representatives, whether they are in the legislatures or in the executive, of all political parties, to have a common goal, and that is to improve the lives of our people. And that is what we want to focus on for the next few days. We need a responsive government who can deliver the essential services that our people not want, what they deserve. And there's important lessons that we are learning during this process. And I'm quite sure in the final report of the committee that will be tabled, we will take into account the experiences that we had. We'll make certain recommendations, very clear recommendations that are there, so that we can, as a country, respond and be more responsive and very resilient when these natural disasters do occur. Climate change is a reality, and it won't go away soon. In fact, it's going to get worse before it will get better. And that's why we must look at our current disaster management programs, relief programs, also the role of educating our people in terms of climate change adaptation. And we also need to ensure that when these disasters occur, that we are ready to respond immediately. And where we must start is right at local level, at local government level. Then province has a role to play, as well as the national government. And all three spheres must operate in unison with one another so that we can open the flow of relief and aid that must reach our people. We are aware that there are certain NGOs that have been very helpful and have been of great assistance during this difficult period that the three provinces, that is KwaZulu-Natal, parts of the Eastern Cape and parts of the Northwest, have been subjected to. But ultimately, NGOs don't run the government. The government is run by people who have been voted for and been put in office, and our people have a legitimate expectation to receive the immediate relief that they require from those who are in government. And public representatives have that crucial role to play. It does give me pleasure to invite Councillor Kaunda, the Executive Mayor of the eThekwini municipality, who will make a presentation and give us an overview of all the relief efforts and what they are currently doing, as well as the challenges. And please focus where you have difficulties and there is a lack of responsiveness from any sphere of government. Please be direct, straight with us, so that when we make the necessary interventions, we can pinpoint exactly what is going on. I've seen that later in the day, we are going to have other presentations as well. Some of these presentations runs into more than 150 pages. Now, while that is very helpful for reading at leisure, we want the presenters to focus on the essence, the key aspects of what is affecting the lives of our people. And as I call Councillor Kaunda, just for the record, can we, from the Secretariat, can we find out if there are any apologies from the members who are not present here? Can we record those apologies, please?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Good morning to Honourable Members, Honourable Mayor, and our colleagues as well. There's one apology from Honourable Hlengwa, who is attending an oversight visit in the Free State of the SCOPA. There's also an apology from Honourable McPherson. He'll be joining us at a later stage, but he'll be coming through today. There's another apology from Honourable Mende, who's also not here today. There's another apology from Honourable Dutoy. He said he would also be joining at a later stage. That should be all from my side, Chairperson.
No, thank you. This is very important that we record the apologies of the members who are not here. Honourable Asoma.
Co-chair, and good morning, honourable members and the MECs and the honourable member and his mayor and his delegation. We do have an additional approach from Honourable Gigaba. She's having an oversight in one of the provinces in portfolio of education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Those apologies are noted. The apologies are noted, and that will be then for the record. Honourable members, I now invite Councillor Kaunda, the Executive Mayor, to come and address us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, co-chairs, Honourable Nyambi and Honourable Floric. Greetings to members of Parliament who are present today. Our MECs, Dr. Mahlaba, the MEC for Human Settlement and Public Works in our province. MEC Nkonyeni, the MEC for Finance, was also present today. I've seen a number of colleagues who are also here, but we are with the Deputy Mayor of eThekwini Municipality, Councillor Mavundla, present. The Whip of the Council, Councillor Ntuli, is also present. I'm sure other members will be joining us, and the Speaker of the municipality has just joined us. So the way, Chair, we respect this body. We were intending to bring the whole executive here. So I'm sure some of them, they are still going to come and join us. So that's how we respect this body. I must start by expressing our apology, Chair, for what transpired in the first visit, which I only saw from newspapers that the Mayor of eThekwini has shown a middle finger to the members of Parliament for not attending the sitting that was arranged. So that was not a true reflection. The Mayor was attending the Land Summit in Pretoria. So the mayor was not at his house. He was attending a land summit in Pretoria, which has got a lot of interest because the city that he leads, it has got a lot of challenges of land. So therefore, I had to ensure that our presence is also ensured in that summit. That is our apology. Yes, there were issues in terms of the location of the venue and all of that, which we iron out with the leadership that we're interacting with, even though I was in Johannesburg. Honorable Chair, welcome to our city of eThekwini, the warmest city in Africa, but the city that is prone of disasters. The disasters we are dealing with in the city, we can leave the old ones, but let's start from the 2011. We were attacked by disasters in 2011, followed by 2017 floods, followed by 2019 floods, and 2022 floods. So that's how the city and its finances get affected, because you'll notice that when you are faced with these disasters, you must adjust your budget. There are service delivery issues that you lined up through your IDP, but you've got to adjust your budget so that you respond to the disasters that we are faced with. Sometimes the monies will be deposited very late after we had to spend the city's money to respond to those disasters. Let me also acknowledge MEC Khuzeni, MEC Zigalala of Kokta, our MEC. From the city's administration, we have a team led by the city manager, acting city manager with us. We must inform the parliament that after Friday, there will be no acting city manager, there will be a city manager. Yes, we are having a council meeting on Friday. So we must give you that assurance that there will be a city manager after Friday. We also have CFO and all the deputy city managers present and the different heads. I will ask the city manager to lead on the presentation, Chair. The reason for that is that as a politician, I must be preparing myself that when he presents, we also take note of your engagement so that we can respond as politicians to what is being done in the city. Because we all get paid, so he will come here and present so that he won't get paid for nothing. Then the mayor will and the political leadership will respond on the issues, because they are politicians here. Members of parliament are politicians. They will be engaging us as politicians on the issues that we'll be raising. We must also indicate, Chair, because there have been a lot of noise, I'm sure some have been cleared in relation to whether we have received $1 billion. So I think all of you now are clear that there's no $1 billion that have been received. The $1 billion was allocated for the entire country to respond on disasters. It was not only aimed to respond to eThekwini challenges. We must also indicate that as a city, we had to reprioritize around 600 million rands just to quickly respond to some of the infrastructural challenges that we are faced with. Of course, acknowledging that disasters, they came whilst we are also faced with the aging infrastructure challenges that presents themselves in the city, which we are attending to them. Some of them we have not yet attended to as envisaged, but we do have plans to respond to that. I must also indicate, Chair, that the report will cover the work that we have done since the floods have visited the city, but working in collaboration with the provincial departments and the national departments to respond to some of the challenges that we are faced with. Ministers have been around here. Some have also left teams behind and meetings to ensure that we follow up on the issues that are affecting the people of eThekwini. Without further ado, Chair, let me request the city manager to come and lead the presentation. Thereafter, we'll be able to take questions. Let me recognize the DG of the province as well and acknowledge her present, Chair, as well as the HODs from the provincial government. Over to you. The acting city manager is Mr. Musampele. Thank you.
Co-directors, who are the co-chairpersons, Honorable Frolic and Honorable Nyambi, His Worship the Mayor of eThekwini, the members of the Joint Committee on Flood Disaster Relief and Recovery, the Deputy Mayor of eThekwini, Speaker, Council and Whip of Council, the various MECs who are with us here, MEC Zigalala, MEC Nkonyeni, and MEC Mahlaba, DG colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you. We are going to be doing a detailed presentation on interventions. However, what we have decided to do, we felt that the status quo has been overly described over time. So we are not going to start there where most of these presentations start, defining what the impact was. I'm sure by now the impact is known. So sifuna ukuhlala emxholweni mhlekazi. We will just get straight to, we will cut to the chase and present interventions that we have since done. So to afford that opportunity, we've decided to take turns so that we drill down to the right level of detail doing that particular presentation. So we are going to start off with Dr. Musa Kumete, who is the Deputy City Manager for Community and Emergency Services. Thereafter, he will be followed by Deputy City Manager for Human Settlement and Infrastructure. Then we close off with the Deputy City Manager that's responsible for trading services to deal with water, progress on dealing with issues of water. Without much further ado, program directors, let me call upon Dr. Kumete. Thank you, Pagatwa.
Good morning to the chairperson, the co-chairs, the members of the committee, the MECs present, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Speaker, Chief Whip, and all DG and all colleagues who are here in the room. The presentation has got 3 segments. The first segment is about a summary. I have given a copy of the presentation to the, I think, to the Secretariat of the of this committee. I hope that they'll be able at a point to make copies or to circulate through the emails. So the first slide is gives a summary update on what we have faced since the disaster started in April. We can confirm in eThekwini that 417 people demised, 80 people are still missing as we stand right now. 86 wards, as indicated in that map, the W's there indicate, blue W's indicate the wards that were affected. 86 wards were impacted severely by the storm in April, and again, the second storm made it worse. The 26,000, sorry, it's getting a bit small for me. 26,814 dwellings were affected, 483 partially damaged dwellings, and 26,367 dwellings were totally damaged in total. In terms of the children affected, over 13,000 children were affected, over 26,000 adults were affected, and over 50,000 people in general got affected by the disaster. In terms of what government offered during the period of disaster, we had to organize sleeping areas for the people. We had to organize food, water, ablution, also make sure that there was electricity in the areas where they were staying, some semblance of safety, although sometimes it was difficult because of the areas that we had available were small, but we had the SAPS, the Metro Police and SANDF assisting us together with the security guards who were available. We also offered healthcare to the shelters, all the shelters. We had both Health of eThekwini, Health of the Province, DSD, all working together, including partners like Doctors Without Borders, assisting to offer health to the victims of the floods. We also offered capacity building to the victims. This was offered through Doctors Without Borders, who conducted capacity building programs to the residents. Or other departments also offered. We also offered psychological and basic care. We had to assist people who had anger, to deal with anger management, also mental health issues that were identified due to the severity of the problem. Also conflict mediation, because people found themselves in hundreds in one space. So there were conflicts that started to occur. We had to deal with conflict resolution and also shelter management as well. There was a big role played by search and rescue of both police, the military, and our own Metro Police and other stakeholders like ambulance services and other private ones, which were involved in finding the missing people and recovering bodies. As indicated, 417 bodies were recovered in eThekwini. 250 people were rescued alive. We still have the 80 bodies that are missing. We still are receiving requests. This is just an example on the slide that as recent as yesterday, we got a request by a family to come and assist in looking for their loved ones who are still missing in their yard. So such requests still come, and we're still dealing with them. I will now hand over to Beryl, who will talk about what we are doing about the people who are in the shelters in terms of dealing with the permanent solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kumete. Let me warmly greet the co-chairs of the committees and honorable members, the provincial leadership, the city leadership, and all protocol observed. As the acting CM has introduced, my name is Beryl Kanyile. I'm responsible for human settlement and engineering infrastructure and public transport in the city. This slide talks to the structure of intervention. I must also just maybe inform the honorable members and the leadership that this report is a consolidation of a report that get pulled together at the Monday 7:30 war room, which is a war room chaired by the Provincial Human Settlement COO and jointly with the city and national government. So it's information that comes from all spheres of human settlement sector. So these are the summary of intervention, which is known by now. What exactly are the activities that we are conducting? So we've set and unpacked what essentially is required for us to adequately respond to the challenge that Dr. Komede has alluded on in previous slide. And we've separated activities so that we are targeting and we apply appropriate mechanism to respond to these challenges. We've understood that the city is vast. It does have a component of rural areas. So we've had to deal with rural areas, the urban areas, and informal settlement, who are predominantly people that are currently being housed in shelters. So there's two interventions that we've agreed on jointly as a human settlement sector, which is the temporary residential units, referred to as TRUs, and also the supply of of materials where families were eligible to reinstate their structures, but provided that land where they are reinstating is not in low-lying areas. So we've worked with inspectors, including NHBRC, to ensure that we assess the site and the recurrence of flooding doesn't happen again. So we've then taken a sharp focus on the people in mass care centers with regard to how we really deal with relocating them back into the communities. We've dealt with 5 phases. We've referred to the first phase as phase 0, simply because we have implemented jointly over 1,000 units, predominantly in areas where people were affected but they could still retain the site. So this is phase 0 because it does not help us eliminate or reduce the number of people in mass care centers, but we are responding because those people were able to move with neighbors and relatives, and we've reinstated those houses, working jointly with the Provincial Human Settlement through TRU's reinstatement. And 134 TRUs were completed by the 15th of August, and the program is still ongoing. Phase 1, we've demarcated phase 1 as a response that targeted 8 municipal-owned parcels. Council took a resolution, we'll think that it was back in June, where they gave authority for us to transfer 8 parcels of land to the Provincial Human Settlement so that we can expand on the response program, particularly to deal with people that are in mass care centers. And then phase 2, there's 23 land parcels that we've jointly identified with the Provincial Human Settlement Public Works to ensure that we really deal with the number of families and continuously plan, because what this process does, it does not take away some of the planning requirements for us to actively redevelop the land. So we still have to subject those parcels of land to some of the statutory processes. And phase 3 is a 27 Provincial Department of Human Settlement parcels of land. This include La Messi as well, which was driven strongly from the Provincial Department of Human Settlement. And those parcels of land are actually looking at not only dealing with temporary residential units, but permanent structures, so that we can capitalize on this program and accelerate the delivery of housing. And then the last is 160 sites that we've identified accordingly. So we've taken this program and given a progress against each phase, as I've stated, demarcated into 3 regions in the city on the basis of impact. There is a construction that is underway, as I've stated earlier, of over 1,000 units. TRUs that were concluded as at August 2022. We also drove a donation program through the Office of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, where we requested service providers to donate as well and build houses at no cost to government, because we understood that they also needed to participate in assisting government to restore and rebuild the city. So this is the progress to date in different wards in terms of what has happened and what has been built, and the respective sectors that have actually built, as it can be seen, that it's a joint effort from all spheres of government. The summary of the 8 sites, which is what we are anticipating, that it will give us over 1,000 temporary residential units, and that is directed to the removal of people in the shelters. We've given a status of where we are in terms of those 8 sites. Our planners and our technical teams are hard at work unpacking those particular sites and ensuring that processes are done in line with appropriate internal control. Province has put a real-time audit to make sure that even the acquisition of service providers is pre-audited, so that we make sure that there are no comebacks a year later from Auditor General. So this is the progress, and we are anticipating that the awards will be done by the provincial department head, and will be able to deal with the implementation. A lot of it is on the ground already in terms of the professional activities. We're working with the city, because we understand that some of the site does not have access to services. So our respective city infrastructure units are also being brought in. There's a roundtable that the head of human settlement in the city chairs to make sure that we align those particular sites with services that could be affected. I must state that the challenges around the infrastructure in the city is a problem, because in some of these areas we have sanitation and water infrastructure that is equally affected by the disaster. So these are just the images images of those sites and indicative status that we have planned. So I'm gonna just go through this very quickly. And what we've done, we've also linked which mass care centers are targeted by this particular site. Just an example, there's 151 families that will benefit from this site, which is a land that we've transferred to province, which is in Tuzuma A. It's fortunately it's accessible to services because of its location, and it will deal with families in the halls in 138, 35, and 78, just by way of example. So this is what we've done so that we can understand, and this also assists the social facilitation, because continuously we do have to conduct social facilitation, which has been a challenge. Hence, we've seen people marching and not being clear in terms of what are the timelines for them to be integrated with the families. So this information then assists the social facilitators to be able to communicate with appropriate information. I'll take that this information is contained. It's just by way of example, and we wanted to articulate and ensure that the leadership confirms that we are working on this particular site. So these are the 8 sites in different areas. As it could be seen, it cuts across wall to wall of the city in terms of the 3 regions. And it then gives the status of where we are at, that the layout is complete and the potential yield. We obviously have to set aside non-developable sites, as I've stated, that this process has not enabled us to actually not deal with some of the statutory and regulatory processes to ensure that we do not recycle people in areas that are environmentally sensitive. So we are subjected to those processes around the environmental assessment and some of the nitty-gritties that are required before we can implement on the ground. I think this is the last site, which is in Jongweni, and obviously there is an aspect of lack of access to engineering infrastructure, but we are working to make sure that we deliver a complete site, not in those areas. So we've taken a stock on the 80 mass care centers, which are currently outstanding, which total to approximately 3,809 households. We do verify this jointly with the team from our city disaster management and as well with the provincial team, particularly with the social development as well, for the benefits of giving some of the social service delivery outputs. And we have categorized it by way of easily attainable families that are under halls that have families under 10. We are anticipating that they will be removed and relocated by the end of August. Accordingly, we've categorized families between 11 and 30 and 31 and 60, because we can easily move families that are small, halls that have families that are small in nature, comparatively to some of the halls that have families that are above 61. So we've taken that back. It's a lot of families that are in those halls, but in terms of what could be realistically done with speed, considering that the planning processes, as I've indicated previously, are still underway. So we are anticipating, in terms of our planning processes, that by the Christmas period, we will essentially have relocated all the families. We're also looking at multiple other interventions to even do that earlier. So essentially, this is the response plan that I was talking to, that we are stating that 10 families, there are 58 families within 10 mass care centers in these respective areas, and those are the families that are going to be relocated by the end of August. And likewise, we've unpacked that information, and this is coming from the verification that happens quite regularly by our ground teams. What we've then done, this information, I must apologize with the size of the font, but it's information that is just augmenting and just restating against that. Line by line, there is an understanding and comprehension that there are so many families in respective halls, and what is the intervention, like we're stating material supply in the non-Dini hall, for an example, there are 6 material supply, and we're not giving TRAs in that hall, and we are specifying each intervention against each mass care centers. And the shaded in red is the ones that we've relocated back to to the appropriate areas, and we've closed those mass care centers. So we've indicated those by way of status. So this is a living document. We meet as the city 6:30 every evening just to go through this information and update it. And again, 7:30 every Monday, the Provincial Department of Human Settlement chairs a war room that we collaborate this information to make sure that we are all on the same page, and also intervention that are required are enabled from myself, the HOD, and the acting DG in that meeting. So this is a category 3, so I'm not going to go through it line by line, honorable leadership, just in the spirit of time. The information can be read, but we'll be able to deep dive if there are any questions against each particular hall. So we've also taken liberty just to update that these are all the halls that we've closed post the flood till current. So we've been able to relocate and ensure that those halls are put back into fit for use so that the city can use them and realize revenue, because halls are used for multiple things, including revenue collection and community meetings. The slide then takes us that we don't only have problems in informal settlement, but our hostels and rental stock was equally affected, and we've costed to the amount of approximately 92 million to actually deal with retaining walls that collapsed, the roof sheets that were blown away, and multiple impact across our rental stock. And we have responded as well, such as Umlaziti, Hostel and Cliplands, where we've got contractors currently on site. And we have reprioritized our funding that we've received from the MEC in the province, and some of it we've restructured it into responding to the disaster in as far as the CRUs and the rental stocks are concerned. And the city has assisted in some of the infrastructure-related issues that affected the CRUs. I'm not going to go through this slide. I think we've circulated it enough. This was the original summary of the quantity of disaster, which was over 1.8 billion, just affecting human settlement within the city. These were other initiatives that we've looked at. We've had an engagement with city leadership, and we've strongly been asked to also look at buildings. It was always something that we've been asked to do, but we've since identified and proposed some of the buildings which jointly with the province, which is the Palm Beach, the Sport Park. It's a social housing project that is not performing well. The Ntuzuma E-flats, some of the social housing, the Montclair Lodge, which belongs to Transnet, and some of the nursing homes that are not being adequately utilized within the city, so that we can tailor-make them into habitable housing units and assist the program of removing people from halls, and not only rely on TRUs and some of the new houses that we are building. And we've conducted assessment and made recommendations accordingly. And this is the work that is still in progress, and we also still are tabling it with our own leadership so that we can solicit their views and inputs. But we've had looked at the Montclair Lodge and its capacity, which is 200 units, and we've had a marathon meeting with province and national around who is going to fund it, and we've reached some of the agreements. But we are still working on detailed processes with Transnet so that we can, and province and human settlement national, so that we can ensure that we are not subjected to a liability that the city cannot fund, but equally we prioritize the people that are currently in mass care centers and deal with a state asset that is available, and the intervention from the MEC and the minister to actually recall it from this building to be sold through public or commercial investment by Transnet. I think we have been assisted there, and it's no longer available to the public but to government, so that we can deal with this program. Accordingly, Palm Beach, it belongs to Public Works, and we are in discussion with Public Works and the Human Settlement team, province, and likewise these other particular buildings. So, because we see that these could yield over 1,000 units, and because they are already built, it could be quicker than us waiting for the building process that is currently being undertaken by our contractors that are on the ground. We've considered other areas which are buildings that are private in nature. We have not limited ourselves to government buildings. If they are available at nominal cost, where we can afford, we've expressed our interest to actually acquire those particular buildings, provided that it doesn't require much funding for us to put it fit for purpose. So that's the work that's currently happening. Council properties, and as well as other buildings that don't belong to council. I'm not going to dwell on challenges because I think the chair did state that the intention was to establish what is the progress and really what are some of the issues that may be impediments for us to accelerate some of these processes. I think safe to say that we've had an intense discussion with the HOD finance within the province as we're seeking some of the intervention around how do we accelerate some of the regulatory processes that relate to preparation of land parcels. And I think the funding, the mayor did cover some of the shortages of financial resourcing so that we can be able, particularly as the city, to accelerate some of the things that we can move forward with, considering that the damage was not only to the informal settlement or housing related stock, but it was also major to infrastructure, roads, sanitation, reticulation, water, even our electricity, and some of our social capital infrastructure. These are just of the handovers that we've had, some of the success stories where our mayor has actually relocated some of the people from halls to houses. If I may request the acting city manager to just conclude on the update on the Tongat waterworks. Thank you very much, Theo.
Program directors, part of what we were requested to do in showcasing the road to recovery was to reflect on the extent to which we have succeeded in restoring water supply in the most hit areas of our city, and there was a specific focus on Utongat, which is also one of the projects that is going to be visited. What we are reflecting here, Program Director, is the road to recover insofar as Tongat Waterworks is concerned. So it's just a fine print, but I'll try to read it as I see it here. But I'm sure because we are also going to be circulating the copies, you'll also see that. So what is reflecting here, there is a line which looks like that road which zigzags there. And then there are green points. Those green points you will see in the legend. It's reflected as completed milestones insofar as ensuring that we restore water in Tongat. And then the one that is in orange color is reflecting the milestones that are still yet to be achieved, but they are on schedule in terms of the program to restore water there. You will see that we started on the 20th of April in the period between the 20th of April to the 15th of June. We sought to ensure that we restore access to site. So you will see when you visit that particular site that there was virtually no access to it because the road that led to the site was washed away by the river there. So we sought to do that. It has since been done. We then sought to build a wall that would block a river because the river was free flowing, so as to ensure that there is a water supply reinstatement. That we did also during the period of the 27th to the 15th of June. And then from there, we sought to ensure that we do temporary access to the pump by doing things such as dislodging and watering, inspecting pumps, so that we are able to proceed whilst the road was still being fixed. Doing the minor cleanup and stuff like that, dislodging. So from there, we sought to do the appointment of the contractor, which also unfortunately was taken on appeal, but including observing the appeal period, we were able to finally get a contractor appointed from the 30th of May going forward. And then from there, we had the contractor establishing on site ancillary works, minor ancillary works started, and then, but we will then, it is still proceeding. As you will see, the period there is the 17th of July to the 11th of September. The next milestone would obviously be the pipe work, services, stormwater, cable ducts, concrete repairs, and so on. We will then move to ensure that we restore electricity supply. Once we've done that, there will be an underpinning of structural repairs, backfill of the embankments and stuff like that. The plant was heavily destroyed such that the integrity of the structure had to be supported to ensure that it is able to withstand vibrations pertaining to the mechanical operations that happen on the site. Then we will move to the repairs of the pumps and the motors. The cold commissioning and approvals will then become the next step, after which then we will do the repairs to mechanical and chlorine closing equipment, and then finally the installation of the containerized room and associated electrical infrastructure, which will lead to commissioning between the 30th of October and the 15th of November. That is the road that the upgrade of that particular plant has taken and is still to take. What I have here, Program Director, is a short video which I would like the members to observe. I'm not sure if the acoustics here are going to allow me to specifically play that particular video. Can I get someone to come and support? I'm supposed to, or don't worry, I'm now very well trained.
Because once you stabilize the old plant, they are also working on the new power station that they will be operating, which will also enable us to pump water in this plant to all the reservoirs, more than 5 reservoirs that we are supplying. The local community, together with the council here, they are working very closely with the company that is on site. There are no protests staged in the site here, and people have been employed, more than 18 people who have just been employed. As the work continues to grow, other people will be brought in to the site to participate. In terms of local subcontracting, we are also happy that locals are also participating. Our target is that by end of October, we should be done. As people of Kotonati, we understand it has been a long period without water, but we understand that you'll be patient with us just to complete this project. As soon as we complete it, like we go back to normal, working with communities, community structures, councillors, and all stakeholders, especially Tonga schools, because even the land where we are putting a power station, we have had an agreement with them to make use of that land, so that this is not in the water level. Because remember, the other one was underneath. So therefore, whenever the rain comes, so it means it will be affected. Hence, they decided to relocate it from the plant to the side of the
Yeah, what might probably be questions in the member's mind is, whilst we are doing this work, how do we supply water to the people of Utongat? I think it's important to respond to that. I want to do so by highlighting what is contained in what we prepared as an operational plan to ensure that there is continuous supply of water. First of all, we sought to ensure that we fast-track the Mamba Ridge pipeline, which is a 700 meter length of 500 diameter steel pipe and the associated chambers and tie-ins. But over and above that, only Belvedere zone is supplied from Hazelmere, all to ensure that people there get water. A possible point of supply from Hazelmere, Mamba Ridge Reservoir, Belvedere and Belvedere Reservoir and Nyaninga reservoirs, by providing an emergency pipeline from Nyaninga to Tongat South. We also requested our partners in the space, Umgeni Water, to provide additional water to Belvedere Reservoir as also a mechanism to ensure that we supply water in some parts of Tongat. There was a donated package plant, and I've been saying to my team, can you please remind me who made the donation, so that we formally recognize them in a stakeholder meeting like this. But I'm not sure if the Deputy Mayor remembers who those people who donated, but we really wanted to recognize them because their package plan provided the much needed relief. Do you remember who donated? Who? Emitters. So I think we formally need to recognize Emitters Water Solution. They provided that package plant. I personally have visited it a number of times. It has really provided much needed relief to the people of Tongat. Of course, the Tongat water treatment works to be restored to its current capacity, which is 5 megaliters. So it's the stuff that I was referring to, which supplies a large part of Tongat, also to ensure that we restore water supply at Umdloti Water Treatment Works, to ensure that we show up water supply there. In addition to that, we have provided water tankers, we have provided storage tanks, we have drilled boreholes to ensure that we have more than just reticulated water. We explored other means of ensuring that people at Utongati do receive water. Contrary to, and this is not a denialist statement, directors, but I have visited townships like Hambanati on several occasions, and people were getting water from the storage tanks that we have erected there. Of course, in comparison to a reticulated formal supply, there is some form of restrictions, but people were indeed catered for. I'm not denying some of the operational challenges that we may have experienced insofar as the supply of water is concerned. And by the way, I also need to formally acknowledge COCTA, who have come on board, and they provided water tankers, Department of Water and Sanitation as well. Most of government had their hands on deck to ensure that we provide water relief to the people of Utongat whilst we are trying to fix the bulk infrastructure there. So what I then want to go to is really just some pictures that show the extent of damage, but some of the work that we are doing to ensure that we restore our water infrastructure. Although this has got nothing to do with Tongat per se, but it is a reflection of some work that we are also doing or have done in some parts of the city, which equally faced similar damages to Tongat that reflect that, and the work, as you can see, our team on the ground, they're trying to provide some upgrade there. Even on the road infrastructure, these are some of the bridges that we have done ourselves. You will see the passage of water underneath that, but it's really mainly about enhancing accessibility there. So we are reflecting what was the extent of damage before and the amount of work that has since been done. To show that as the city we do care, we want to ensure that we provide relief to our people.